All right, just want to welcome everybody here and excited for signing day. Felt a little different today. We had a chance to do some cohort work with our guys this morning, but also bouncing out with the guys sending in their papers and really it's not the faxes anymore. It's just sending in the text messages with all the confirmations on it. So still an exciting day and definitely unique to be able to have a class that we haven't had on official visits, but many that were able to come prior to COVID. So really excited about this group. It's not a large number of guys, only 14, but still have 6 different states represented and one from New Zealand. So got a little international flair to it, but got good balance on offense in regards to different positions represented, 2 O-linemen and got us tight end, 2 running backs, quarterback, and 3 receivers. So defensively got heavy in the secondary, and then defensive lineman as well, so 4 on defense only. But just really excited about the quality of the players, and so just really feel like they fit with us off the field and their character and their the way they've been raised, and then just the way they play the game, in terms of both effort and skill and talent and just guys that fit with us, And so just really excited about them. This is a group that we had committed as a complete group really before the season even started, and they've all stayed with us, and we knew it was going to be a smaller group from the beginning. So don't have very many seniors on this current team, but really anxious to get these guys on campus here. We got 5 of them will be mid-year guys, and so that's really exciting as well. So I just want to make sure that we have 5 of the top 11 in the state of Indiana assigned with us here at this university. So that's a special thing to me. Very important. It's been a priority from the beginning, and to see our best players in Indiana choose to stay home is a big deal. And so really excited about that as well. So also excited about our all Big Ten players that were selected today. The defense was announced today, having 4 first-teamers. And then we had, 2 more, 1 on second team, 1 on third team, 1 honorable mention. So really excited about Micah and Jerome and Jamar and Taiwan all making first team, which is the first time that's ever happened here. And so that's a record for us. And then 7 total is also a program record. But as well as having, Cam Jones, honorable mention, which he's a guy that obviously could and will continue to grow up those numbers and continue to be a great player for us. And then also having Jalen Williams as a second teamer and Devon Matthews, which we call Monster, as a third teamer. So just a tribute to what we built here, and a great job by Kane Womack and the whole defensive staff. But these are guys we've all recruited to come here and all out of high school, and neat to see them come here, be developed and flourish. And it's been an awesome thing. So excited for them. So big day for the Hoosiers, and I'm ready for questions.
All right, Matt Weaver, and then John Blau.
Hey, Coach. Congrats on signing day.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I was going to ask you about DJ Matthews. For kind of a 2-part question. First off, he's from an area where you guys recruited a lot. Was there a pre-existing relationship before you guys recruited him, here when he left Florida State? And secondly, obviously with these kind of guys, you're looking for immediate and hopefully significant impact and, an older transfer. What kind of impact do you guys think he can bring on offense and also on special teams? Because I know he's a great returner.
He is, and the answer to that question is yes. I've known his high school coach. Matter of fact, I coached against him when I was a young coach. When I was at Temple Heights, we played against his high school, Trinity Christian, there in Jacksonville, 2 years in a row. And so I've known Coach Dorminey for almost 30 years. So really appreciate him and the job he's done there for all this time, and all the great players that they've produced. So already had that relationship there, and yeah, he's a gifted athlete for sure, and another weapon to bring to our offense. And you mentioned as well, a very skilled punt returner, one of the best in the ACC. And so just to bring a guy in that has experience, we do have, we have an older group of receivers and then a younger group there, and kind of a gap in between. And so just kind of give us a chance to create more depth there, and a chance to come in here and compete and come here and make plays. That's what we challenge him to do. And as we bring these younger guys along, and guys that have a chance to come in, and as many of these guys will do, as we always tell them in recruiting, they have a chance to compete and earn a spot here, So, but competition what makes you really good, and having a lot of weapons on offense is what you have to have. And excited about having DJ Matthews join our football program.
All right, John, then Zach.
Obviously, you talk about you guys are done for today, but do you intend to hopefully get some guys in the later part of the signing period? in the spring? And then also you talked about mid-year enrollees. Do you know which ones those are that are coming early?
Yeah, we do. I would say to the first question, we have not many spots left. We don't have. You only can replace what you lose, and so we're not losing many this year. So we will not expect to add too many more, maybe a couple, but don't see there being a whole lot of movement just because of the nature of our positions. So, but for me, and when you go through and you look at the guys who will be here mid-year. So James Evans, our punter from New Zealand, he will be coming to this country for the first time, which is always an interesting, type of situation. But that's not that uncommon with individuals in the past with bringing over, specialists from Australia / New Zealand. So he'll be here with us. Vinny Via Cable will be coming with us mid-year, and as well as going through this here, DJ Matthews will be joining us mid-year as well. Josh Sayles will be here mid-year as well. And Jordan Williams will be here mid-year as well. So those are the guys that will be joining us. And excited to have them all. Those guys have a chance to help us right away, develop them, get them in the weight room, be a part of spring football, and give them a jump start on the season.
All right, Zach, and then Kevin.
Yeah, Tom, he's a local kid for us, and he's a Mr. Football finalist. So I was going to ask about Donovan. I know he's a guy that you've coveted for a long time. I want to say Indiana may have been either his first offer or at least his first Power 5 offer. What do you see in him? I know there's probably some of it that's obvious in terms of his measurables and his mobility and some of his arm talent, but just, as you kind of maybe evaluate him as a potential quarterback of the future, what are the things that you think he can kind of bring out of his game as he gets older in college?
Yeah, I feel like that, I had him at camp and saw him when he was young. We were his first offer. And I just saw that this natural quick release that you can't coach. He obviously was already tall. He's 6'4", 6'5" guy. And he was long and lean as a younger player. But it was just that, the physical part you watch and you see that the effortlessness with which he throws the football, and you just knew he was just going to keep getting better and better, and he did. And I still think he's just going to continue. I think his best football is ahead of him as he continues to grow and mature. He's a very, very gifted basketball player on a very talented basketball team there at Lawrence North, also runs track. So he does those things year round, and so he doesn't just zero in just doing one thing all the time. But the thing that really stuck out as we offered him, because you do that offer what you see physically, but then you start to get to know them. And that's where I really felt like he started separating himself in my mind as, hey, this is the guy you want leading your program one day. And just the character, I have a lot of strong relationships there at his high school, know the principal and the AD well, went to high school with them, actually was raised with them from Newcastle, and then known his high school coach for a long, long time. And Coach Mallory played here, and just all those, when you know them that well, you get to know, hey, this is who this young man is, and they're going to tell you the truth, because of that relationship, that trust that you have with them, and just such a great young man. And you start talking to people around the school, and just the way he handles himself, and being able to take a program, that he's coming from, and help lead them into a historic season for themselves, and help build that program there, and be a part of that change, and be a part of that, creating that belief there. It's just kind of things we talked about, being able to do that here. And then obviously it's already started now. And but when he was being recruited, that was just starting to happen a year ago. And then obviously committed to us even before, this season actually played itself out. So, but I just saw those qualities in him, a gifted athlete that even last year before their tournament got, canceled there in basketball, he's making game-winning shots in back-to-back games there to in those high-pressure moments. And I just like that kind of thing. Guys competing in other sports and playing at a high level, And so that to me, that matters, because you want that competitive toughness. You want that competitive greatness that a young man has to be able to be at his best when it counts the most in those types of settings. So that's what I saw out of him. And I think that he's got an opportunity to come here and be developed and buy in like I believe he will, and work extremely hard in the weight room and in the classroom and representing our program in a first-class way on and off the field. So I just think that we're so blessed to have him. And as you mentioned, he's a finalist for Mr. Football. He won the position award already for the state of Indiana at quarterback. And he's going to come here and have a great, great career, I believe.
All right, Kevin, then Rick Bozich.
Yeah, you mentioned Jordan Williams being a mid-year enrollee. What does that signal to you in terms of him wanting to get started? And I know he's kind of a highly regarded kid that has roots in Georgia and Texas, and he beat out a lot of big programs for him. What are your expectations or hopes for his development, maybe in that early period?
Well, I think anytime you come early, it gives them a jump start on learning the playbook, a jump start on their physical preparation, just the mental adjustment to college and the schedule and all things that you do, and how that just really, really puts them, in a stronger position to play in the fall. And that's really, I guarantee that's his expectation. Now he's got to come in here and earn that like everybody else does. But he's played, as you mentioned, both in Georgia and in Texas, and high-level football. They play a national schedule at his high school in Texas here and all across the country against some of the best teams in the country. So it just brings a confidence to him, and just playmaking ability in space. And that's really, we've said a lot, but it's become that kind of game. Defense has to make plays in space and get guys on the ground, and special teams is that way, and offense is obviously that way. So that's what we do here. That's how we like to play the game. And so to me, the more weapons we can have, the better for us. And he's going to have the chance to come in here and compete and earn a spot.
All right, Rick and then Peegs.
Yeah, Tom, you mentioned it was, the 14 guys that you had committed all along. How unusual is it that the whole class stays together the way this one did? And moving forward with the success you've had this year, how do you think your recruiting will change, if any?
Well, first of all, the first question, I think, it is unusual that they all stay together. But I tell you what, there's one thing about this group that really, and we don't, they did it on their own, which is, I think, made it even more impressive, was they really connected together. They formed like a group text themselves on their own. They stayed, they met each other when they came to visit, a big core of them. And as guys would commit, they would connect them to the group, and they really did a great job. And I think that helped bond them to where we're all in this together. We're coming here together to do this and to help continue to build Indiana football. And so I think that connected them. But obviously, the success we had here, during the season, that just kind of proved everything. Like, I would just, as I was messaging them and we get them on the phone and say, hey, we're doing everything we said we were going to do. And it gave a chance just to solidify everything that we had talked about to their families and to them when they came to visit. And so I just think they just got closer and closer, and the bond got stronger as the season wore on. And I just think there was just no chance these guys weren't going to stick it out, because there's a lot of, kids have decommitted here lately because of the fact of not being able to get to places and just lack of connection and different things that this pandemic has caused, So, but I think having, a smaller group, was obviously something we knew ahead of time. That's totally what you plan for, because you're just replacing what you lose numerically in your senior class, So, but I just think moving forward that's it's an important thing. And I think that when you think about how this is going to look in the future recruiting and how we have to do things with the next class, I mean, there's a lot to be determined about that part of it. But I do feel like that, the 22 class for us, we kind of said this all along, is going to be a big class. We expect it to be a large class numerically, and we've been planning for that and building for that. And that's where I really see the true benefit of and the change in what we're able to do and who we attract here based on on-field performances, the 22 class and beyond. And so, because like I said, this class was already, committed and together and pretty much done by the time the season started. And so what we've done on the field right now and the things we've been able to do, even just to be able to, even today, you go through and you think about that list of guys that is on the all Big Ten list there. Jerome Johnson had no Division I offers out of high school. And he came from a small town, Mississippi, and I knew his head coach, and I recruited that area when I was at Ole Miss, and I knew him, and we brought him here on an official visit and hadn't even offered him yet. And I had to kind of convince everybody here. I wasn't the head coach at the time, and convince him to take him. I mean, we had a specific film, so I had to go through and pull film from the Mississippi-Alabama All-Star game, which he played in, and show clips of him playing just to convince the coaches here, hey, this is a guy that I believe has a chance to be a special player, even though he had no Division I offers at that time. And so, but we saw that potential in him. He comes here and he's developed into a first-team All-Big Ten player. And Micah McFadden, was not a highly recruited guy. We already talked about him in the past. And he had 2 Power 5 offers, and we were one of them. And he's come here now. He's a first team All Big Ten linebacker, and Tywan Mullins, another guy that he's undersized, but he had a lot more going on in recruiting for sure. But a kid that just bought in, and believed in this program. And the story about what he, in my office, when he wrote down, the 50, 26, 10, and just had kind of just come here with a different edge about him. And now he's first team All Big Ten, and Jamar Johnson, same thing, he had offers and all, but it wasn't like he's some national guy, and he believed in us and we believed in him. He came here and he made some positive changes in the way he did things on and off the field, and he's developed into a great player. He's first team All Big Ten. I go on and on and on with those guys and be able to convince them. And you say, okay, in recruiting, this is what we're able to do with these guys. And this is these guys fit this culture. They fit what we're looking for. And they came here, they bought in, they believed, and they were developed. And then the product on the field is indicative of that. And so to me, that's as valuable as anything. I get it. Winning on the field is a big deal, but they want to, every kid wants to say, how can I benefit from, coming to Indiana? How's it going to allow me to be able to reach my goals and my dreams? And that's what I want to be able to do. And that's why you want to personalize all this and show this is how we see you. And then obviously as they come here, we want them to, be able to buy into the team and not caring who gets the credit, because it's not about me, okay? But also understand that when the team does well, who gets recognized? The individual. That's how it works. And I tell them that. We talk about that. I told our defense that when I first got here, but when you try to get recognized first, it never works. And so, but that whole concept is what we want. And so that's where I see the benefit coming. So we, like I said, we got a big class coming up here in 2022, we believe. And we didn't sign any linebackers this year. We're not losing any linebackers. And so we got to be able to, we have to get a couple linebackers in this next class. So that's where we got to do a great job of really having, and it could be challenging because I don't even know what the evaluation is going to look like moving forward. And when we are going to be able to leave campus or when can they come to campus? Those things I don't know right now, but it is going to be a very important class here coming up here in 2022.
All right, Peegs, and then Paul.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about your three defensive backs, and before that, also, what does it do to have three guys in your defensive back awarded first or second team? What does that do for you on the recruiting trail?
Everything I just said. You'll be able to point to these guys, and we'll tell their story and say that can be you. You come here, you buy in, you do the things that we ask you to do. You make the sacrifices necessary to be special. You do all the things that we want you to do in the film room and on the practice field and in walkthroughs and in the weight room and all the things that it's going to require to create that kind of performance on game day. And you lay it out for them. And you say, hey, this can be you. If you choose to come here and believe and buy in and work the way these guys will work, because that's the key. It's all about how hard are you willing to work. And so you look at the guys that we have, and Larry Smith's a very, very talented football player out of Florida. Just has so much instinct to him and just ball making ability and just around that football, and can play safety, can play corner. Just has a lot of that. And because now we kind of say he's got a lot of Taiwan in him. When you talk about a guy that just has a knack for the football. Getting balls out, whether it's strips or whether it's breakups or whether it's, getting to the football. And obviously he's a great blitzer as well. So just having all those instinctual things that makes you a great player. And Jordan Greer out of Georgia, to me, is just a very, very athletic. We have kind of a model, that we're looking for this body type and this skill set at each one of our DB positions, and the ability to play corner and safety is a really, really huge asset that you have, and speed. We're going to play man coverage. We're going to play some zone coverage, and so sometimes safeties are more zone guys or more man guys or whatever, and we're trying to find guys that have that flexibility to do multiple things. And so I'm really excited about Jordan and his athleticism and his ability to be around the football make plays with the ball. And what does he do when he has the ball in his hand as well? And then Maurice Freeman, who's just a really physical player from Virginia. And man, I love his film. He's so explosive, and he's probably going to be more of a husky free safety type kind of guy. And just because of his physicality, being able to blitz off the edge and just be a great special teams guy. And all these guys need to be special teams guys, but he really sticks out to me. I mean, you watch his kickoff cover film, and it's like that'll get you fired up, he's laying folks out, and so he's looking for people to hit, So I just really love those three guys. Just give us a lot of talent and a lot of playmaking ability, and that's what you got to have. And we're a three safety defense, and those corners, we kind of rotate some of those corners even to play some safety. And you take a guy like Raheem Lane, who will be back with us, and a very, very gifted player that can play, multiple positions. I mean, he's actually a guy that can probably play them all both corners and all three safety spots, So just looking for the kind of guys like that you can utilize and mix and match within your system. And as they grow and develop, and sometimes guys get bigger than you think they're going to, sometimes guys don't. But a lot of speed, which is the common denominator that has to be a part of this equation, and that's what we're looking for. And I'm really excited about the three DBs that we added today.
All right, Paul, then Dylan Wallace.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned that you had 5 of 11 of the top players from Indiana, and talking with them, they all talked about how they couldn't wait to be a part of what you're building. One, how special is that? And two, when you look at a guy like Vincent, who is a legacy player, his father here and his brothers here, how special is it to have a guy like that as well?
Well, I'll never forget, we had the core of those guys in this room I'm sitting in right now, and I stood before them. It's probably been a year and a half ago, before the whole pandemic even started. And I just, like I always do, I poured my heart out to them about what we were building here. And we just finished the season that we had and did some great things, but just this hadn't happened yet, and so, but just knew how close we were, and just was talking about the guys, and it was kind of a group that we had, a bunch of the Indiana kids here, and so we even had some guys that were even in the next class there that day, and Vinny Fiucchio, the guy you're mentioning, who's had family play here, and his dad and his brother, and I knew how much it meant to him to be an Indiana Hoosier, and he's a guy that we evaluated long and hard and wanted to make sure, because it's those kind of situations where I want to make sure guys like that, that I know how much it means to them to be here, that, when we offer them, it's like, hey, we're saying, because these different offers are based on where you're at in the recruiting process and how much you've seen of them, or have you seen them enough in camp, and have you watched them in person, and all those different things. And so we knew, hey, we offer this young man that we're going to say, hey, we want you to come here and be a part of this team, and not say we needed to see more things from you. So just a passionate Indiana Hoosier. That's who we're getting. That's big and strong, can move, plays both sides of the football. I love that about him. I love the fact that I like guys that play multiple sports and multiple positions. That, to me, is that versatility is really what you're looking for. And Cooper Jones, another guy that his dad played at Notre Dame and mom played here, softball. But it meant so much for him to want to be a part of this, and I'll never forget, when he called and said he wanted to be a Hoosier. But I went nuts on the phone, because I knew he was our kind of guy. He's big, he's athletic, he plays basketball, but he's tough. And he plays so hard, and he's so physical, and he cares so much. I went and watched him work out, in his school before everything shut down, and just could see that intensity that you have to play defensive line. And this thing, we already talked about Donovan McCulley, but just another huge piece to this whole Indiana football program. Josh Sayles, big old athlete, Indiana kid that from Brownsburg High School, and we really put him as a huge priority for us. He was our number one guy we were going after, the tackle spot, and just felt like with his athleticism and his length, and he's coming from a really good program, and he's got a great dad and met his grandma, and just be able to have him in this environment, it was such a big deal for them, and he was so excited when he made a decision to come here. And I just feel like that's just such a big part of guys that want to be here, guys that mean something to them, and this is their home state. And then you finish off with Aaron Steinfeld, who's right here in Bloomington, that has so many connections to Indiana, and it's been here so much. But at the same time, and this is where his heart is, another 3-sport guy, excellent baseball player and really good basketball player, just a good athlete that I once again, because he hasn't just dove into just playing football, 365, 247, he has got a lot of upside to me to be able to grow and develop and get in that weight room. And but I want guys that play multiple sports that aren't just, all they do is just play football year round. And sometimes that happens, but I really would prefer that we get athletes, that know how to compete in different sports and have to shoot free throws, with maybe very few seconds left on the clock, or have to be at the plate when it's 3-2 and you gotta, bases loaded, 2 outs, whatever. You gotta be able to function in those, you can't create that competitive spirit in a kid, laying on his back doing a bench press in the springtime, So that to me is really what we like. And I think that, I was a 3-sport guy in high school, and that's a big part of that. I was a wrestler, and I was involved in track and threw the shot and discus and coached all those other sports as well. So those kind of guys, and then they happen to be from Indiana too. And that's just it made it special to get those 5 guys that believed in us and chose to come here and saw the vision, believed in the vision, and now want to come make it reality to help live out that vision and just keep making history here at IU.
All right, Dylan, and then John Blau.
Hey, Tom, you mentioned just, you replace kind of who you lose. And with the NCAA sort of allowing athletes to kind of get another year of eligibility because of the season, I mean, I know the season's not over, but you have a sense of maybe guys on the team that would want to use that. And then would that sort of affect kind of in the springtime if you would look to add more to the current class or not?
I think that's a fair assessment that would determine some things. That would be a variable we would look at. The reality is those numbers don't, for this coming year, they will not affect you in a negative way. So we will be over, and I think some of those guys will stay. I don't know which ones yet will stay and replay their senior year again. The NCAA has given them that freedom to do that and that eligibility to do that. And so we'll have those discussions once we get, through the bowl game, and we'll know more what those guys are planning. And some of it's just sitting down and just kind of figuring out what's my future look like? What's next for me? And I want to always do a really, really good job of helping them figure that out and gathering information and giving them as much info as we possibly can, and from every angle that we possibly can, so they can make the best decision for them. And we'd love to have these guys, be able to be back with us, because it was such a choppy off season. We really never had a chance to. We had a brand new strength staff that joined us right before spring break, and then that's when the pandemic hit. So, and then they came back over the summer together, and that was start, stop, and then the fall stopped and then started and then stopped, and just different things. So they've never had a chance to really be with that group of guys for an extended period of time. So that's a thing to consider, in your development, and the ability for you to be able to leave here and go on to whatever's next for you, and that you're most prepared for that. So those are conversations we're going to have. And based on how many of those guys decide to stay, that will affect who we would probably go out and maybe fill a spot or two that we have left.
All right, John, and then Matt.
We didn't ask about this yet with Kane. I mean, obviously still got a little bit to go, but have you started getting phone calls and started looking into and exploring, candidates for that job yet? And how do you look at what you want from that coordinator? Has Kane kind of molded that at all in terms of, the way he runs the defense and what you want in the next one?
Okay, so several different questions there. I said, first of all, yes, my phone has been very active with that, as you would expect. I'm not in a hurry with that, and that's kind of how I've explained it. We're going right now. The focus is on finishing out this season and having a great, as of right now. Now we know at this point, getting our team healthy and getting them prepared to have a great bowl experience for our football team and playing our best football in that bowl game and the goal of winning that bowl game. So that's the focus. Kane's going to be part of that with us, and that's awesome. He's going to finish out with us, and I really am excited about that for him. And as this goes along, there's no question, you start to, I've already started that you're thinking of, what you're looking for in that guy for that position. And it's a little unique for me because of my involvement on defense and the fact that this is our defensive system that I brought here back in 2016. And we've tweaked it every single year, and we even tweaked it here this last year with some different things that we added. And Kane and I did that together, and he did a great job of really, running all that. And he brought some new ideas that I thought were excellent and made us better. And so that's the whole point. I want a guy that can come in here and run this system. We're not coming here. We're not changing our defense. This is what we do. This is our Indiana football defensive system that I believe in, and we built here over the years. And I'm, like I said, I'm involved in every single meeting, and I don't tell that coordinator what to call on game day. But all those decisions that as we decide the game plan and what we decide to do in the off season, I'm involved in all those things. So that's where it's a little bit different than the offensive side of the ball or an offensive coordinator position, because in that, I'm not in those daily meetings, and that's by design. That's how I set it up ahead of time, and that's how we follow that. So that makes it a little bit different situation for sure. But we're just going to find the best guy that fits with us, and the guy that I feel like is best to allow us to continue to grow this defense. And I think we have a chance to be really, really good next year on defense. And I expect us to be better than we are this year. That's my expectation. And I said that last year. I thought we had a chance to be really good defense this year, and it proved to be true, And so bottom line is we just want to keep growing, keep developing, keep getting better. And that person, they're going to be given that charge to capture that room again with that new individual and put their personality and stamp on what we do. And I give them that freedom to do that. But the scheme itself is going to be, this is our system. So it'll take some time here. We're not going to expect it to make a decision anytime soon. And I want to make sure we get it right. And there is one benefit of not having, usually we're out recruiting this time of the year. And we would recruit, right after the bowl game as well. And once we get to the normal dead period, but now it's all dead till April. So that's not going to be a part of the equation. All the recruiting will be done virtually and on the phone. So that takes a little pressure off in regards to the timetable, but I want to get it right. And it's a very important hire for us, and we plan to.
All right, Matt and then Stefan.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask you, two of the guys that are coming in mid-year are offensive linemen, Josh and Vinny. And I know ideally you like the redshirt linemen and bring them along as slowly as you can and, wait till they're a little bit older. But we know that, last year you had to play Matthew Bedford. How important, how valuable are these months that they'll get with the strength staff, with you guys in spring ball, not only for their development, but it also, I would think it would help push the guys that are above them, because these guys physically are pretty close to being ready to play as far as size. I mean, just how valuable is this time going to be for them?
Extremely valuable, without question, especially on last scrimmage. The weight room is the part that, the physicality, like you said, these guys are big young men already. They're coming to us big and thick and strong. And so, but at the same time, they've got to learn our system. They got to learn how to play the game at this level. And so it is hard, and I know even when Matt was thrust into that position, it wasn't really by design. It was, hey, this is reality, and starter goes down, and you got to be ready to go. So, but there's no question that the ability to come at the mid-year, be a part of the entire off season. You get a whole extra spring ball. You get a whole extra, semester of training with our strength staff, and what that all looks like and how that is a part of your development. So I expect them to be way further along than they would have been had they just showed up, on June 1st. So how that looks and how they, respond to that is up to them. And honestly, you never know. And that's where you just have to, are they going to push the other guys in front of them? I'm sure they will. But that's also on them as well. So they got to come here and prove that they are good enough to play early. And if they are, they will. And if they're not, they won't. And so we've got more depth than we've ever had in this program. And so that's a good thing. And that competition and that ability to push each other is a powerful, powerful thing. And the motivation that it creates for everybody, including yourself, is really, really good for our program. So glad they're coming early. We'd like to get as many as we can that want to do that. I don't push guys to do that, but I always give them the facts, the pros and the cons, because it's just like anything else. There's things that you can do that help you become better. There's things that sometimes a guy may not be ready yet. It can be negative. And so we want to make sure something that they want to do and we feel like they're ready for. So excited for those guys to get here and ready to get to work.
All right, Stefan and then Zach.
With Lee Wilbanks, I know his story is kind of fascinating, how he made it through the ranks at Ole Miss and now he ended up here. I mean, this past year, him working with you guys under these circumstances, I mean, how impressed have you been with him?
Well, he may be the hardest worker I've ever been around in my entire coaching career. Relentless recruiter. Give him a ton of credit for everything that we're doing here in recruiting. Just watches hours and hours of film. Does a great job of finding guys, and being able to, just even when we were all the way back to a place like Lambeth, where we first worked together. He actually was our secondary coach as well as recruiting coordinator at Lambeth. And so he and I worked really close together because I was the coordinator at that time. And so got to know him really, really well and just watched hours and hours of film, just trying to find guys there. You're trying to find that hidden guy that nobody may know about or just this or that situation. And so just continue to do that. We're finding guys from all across the country. And so I just think that's, in a place like this where we got to be able to find those guys and be able to project, watch that film and project, who can become a certain level player down the road. That's really what we've, done really well here, I think, in the last several years. And that's like all those guys we just mentioned, they just got recognized today defensively and even on the other side of the ball yesterday. So to me, that's the key. And he's a big part of that and just so valuable to us and does a great job for us. And just have a ton of respect for him because I know how hard he works. And matter of fact, I gotta shoo him out and say, hey, you need to go home, and go be with your family. And even when he's there, he's working. So, but that's just he's relentless. That's our one word for 2020, and that's how he recruits.
All right, Zach, and then Peegs wrap us up.
I guess kind of going back a little bit to the relationship that you said these guys have formed. I know you can't predict the future, but I think there's a lot of people wondering just across college football whether the unorthodox nature of this, if it's going to lead to some guys maybe struggling in the programs that they're in. And I know you've talked about how you're kind of focused on working maybe doubly hard to build relationships with guys when they get to campus because you haven't had the normal sort of in-person contact and recruiting. But do you think it's also maybe going to help that these guys have maybe kind of had this organic sort of relationship form within themselves, that as they come to campus, even if maybe for some of them it is the first time they've seen Bloomington or maybe only the second or the third, they're just going to feel really comfortable because they've got, such a sort of a tight-knit group of freshmen that they're already comfortable with? Yeah,
I hope so. I think that's a perceptive question because the bottom line is that we kind of got a little bit of everything with this class, even though it's small. We got guys that have been here a bunch of times. We got some guys that have never been here, not very many, but we got a few. We got a few that have been here only to the town. And they were able to come and on their own go through campus and just kind of, drive around and see everything from the outside. They couldn't come into the facility. But they have been to Bloomington. But that's the uniqueness of this recruiting right now. And so, that's why I think you've got a lot of people saying, hey, we can see a lot of guys, go somewhere and not necessarily like it because they really never had a chance to go there and experience it on an official visit where you spend 48 hours, with the team, having a host, being in the facility, meeting with the coaches face-to-face, going to dinner with them, doing activities together, having position meetings face-to-face. Now, we've done all that virtually, okay? And that's where, I guess time will tell. I don't know the answer to that, to be honest with you. But I will say I've been impressed with the way these guys have connected. And I think some of it was because of that. They kind of forced them to do that. So I think just like anything else, when you have something happen that's never happened before, a lot of things maybe grow out of that and become a product of that. Some are positive, some are negative. And so I think that's a positive one of this is it's forced these guys to connect in a way that maybe they wouldn't have had they kind of come in the natural way. Usually what happens is they come on an official visit and that's when they really start connecting, and then they leave there and they kind of stay that way. But here they've had to do that on their own, which is even, once again, you talk about leadership on a team. It's always way more effective when it's from the players and it grows from the inside out. And well, I could say that's the same way with this. This is something that grew naturally from the players from the inside out. So I think it has a chance to be really special. I really do. And I think that's the exciting thing about this group. That's what sticks out to me about this class is the way that they've done that. So that's a good thing. And but it is a smaller group for sure. And so that's probably another reason why maybe they got closer, because there's less of them and they've got a chance to really get to know each other well. So, but it's like anything else, it's always the value in it is the people. and the relationships that you build. And so I think that's why, they fit here with us. We're a relationship-driven staff and a relationship-driven program, and that's what LEO embodies. And my whole, philosophy is to build those relationships, those strong, embedded to where you trust the people that you're with. You can talk with them, you can confide in them, and they trust you and you trust them. And so that all starts with, entry level of, getting to know each other well and just letting it grow from there. So I hope, and that's the plan, is that these guys will really come here and just grow that relationship that they've started with each other and infiltrate that into our entire team.
All right, Peaks, last one.
I don't know if rankings aren't necessarily accurate, but Jacquez Smith is your highest ranked recruit by a lot of people. Just how did that one go down, and what is it about his talent that allows him to convince people he is that good of a player?
Well, when you go through and they base those off of watching film, and then guys go to certain camps and get evaluated there. And I just think just the ability to, get in and out of his breaks. He does a really good job of that. He's thick and strong. He runs well with the ball after he gets it in his hand. I think that's a big deal. He's got some maturity to him physically, and that to me shows up on film. He's hard to tackle. And I think that's, you can be able to, you kind of project that into the collegiate level. Some guys, if they're smaller, they don't have ability to maybe break tackles like that. They have to rely on their quickness. And so, and he has a little bit of both of that. So he has good speed and good change of direction, and he's got really good ball skills, So I just think that's kind of the, you're looking for those qualities in a receiver. And it's like anything else. I mean, sometimes those rankings are accurate, sometimes they're not. But to me, it's all about how hard is he willing to work once he gets here. That, to me, that's the key. You can take Ty Freifogel. He was a two-star guy, out of small town Mississippi, and came here. And now he's, the receiver of the year in the whole Big Ten conference. How about that? So, to me, they have a lot of similar qualities. I think, Ty's a little bit taller, but they're very similar build. And so to me, that's what you're looking for. And Ty came here and he decided, man, I'm going to work my tail off. And that's what we expected him to do when he got here, and that's what he did. And that's going to be the same for him. And Jacquez got to come here and he's got to work. It's about, hey, what do you want? How hard are you willing to work to get that thing that you want? And what are you willing to sacrifice to get that thing that you want? And so to me, that's what it comes down to. And I want him to come in here, and we'll sit down and we'll go over these things and what he wants to accomplish here, what he wants to do, and okay, then how hard you willing to work to do that, and how much you want to sacrifice. And so that's going to define, how good he becomes. And that's challenge going to be given to all of our guys, because that's the key. And that's why signing day is awesome, and it's a great thing. But man, it's the beginning. This is the start of it all, not the end of it all. This is really where once they get on campus, those guys that are coming mid-year, man. Here you go. Roll your sleeves up and go to work. And those guys are willing to do that over and over and over time, become the great ones.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
Appreciate you guys. Have an awesome day. LEO.